My light fine. I feel like I'm like, are we live? Oh, we are live.
You look great, Chrissy. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We are live. Making sure we look all pretty for you, and
Exactly.
our lights are perfectly radiating off of our face. Welcome to Her Radiance Revealed. I'm so excited that you guys are here with Christina Ambubuyog and myself. Um, just want to be transparent with you guys. I'm feeling a little wonky today. So um, that's one of my things, is just to come from a really vulnerable space and to honor you for showing up, because like me, you might be feeling a little out of it today, but I hope you got yourself some tea or coffee. I already had my coffee. And I hope you're kind of snuggling into a cozy place and just really allowing yourself to enjoy this conversation that Christina and I are going to have. And yeah, we're going to ask for a little bit of your participation. Make sure to hang through the webinar all the way to the end, because we have some really sweet deals for you, sweet offers that I know many of you are going to want to take advantage of. So Her Radiance Revealed is, I created this webinar really as a space for women to come together on Saturdays to really explore this thing called self-care, and what I call radiant self-care, and how you can really focus all that energy that I know many of you have been putting out into the world, doing big things, busting your ass on the hamster wheel, and turn that light inside and learn how to nourish inside of you this like deep inner longing and this deep passion that you have to live a life where you are wildly expressed and way less stressed, because those are two things that I know in my life have made a huge difference. So I am here to support you. I'm a radiant self-care coach, and been doing this for, gosh, almost 2 years now. And so yes, this is going to be some time for you. So before I introduce our lovely guest, let's just take a moment to kind of tune into ourselves. So wherever you are, just maybe take a deep breath, close your eyes, move your body, maybe roll your shoulders a couple times, and just get really centered and grounded within yourself. Just take a moment to honor you. And as you do that, you just put your hand on your heart and plant a seed in your heart as to what you hope to get out of this call. And just really feeling peaceful and calm, and tapping into that inner radiance that you have within yourself, that beauty that lies within each and every one of us. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. All right. So I would like to introduce the amazing Christina Ambubuyog. You guys, this woman is freaking amazing. She's one of the dearest people in my heart, literally on this planet. And, I just have to tell the quick story real quick. Chrissy, you probably know what I'm going to share, but it's amazing how kind of life works out, right? I talk a lot about divine timing and these paths that we're on, but I guess it was almost 6 years ago, I was taking painting classes, part of my self-expression, downtown in Las Vegas. And I remember during my painting classes just staring at this beautiful painting on the wall of this woman. And I remember it was purple, and I think maybe she had a flower in her hair. I'm just wondering, like, wow, the person who painted that, it just, I don't know, it touched me in some way. Well, fast forward, I don't know how many years after that, but it was quite a few years, and I come to meet Christina and find out, holy crap, that is her who painted this beautiful painting. So not only is she a professional intuitive coach, a psychic, a spiritual teacher, and so much more, but she's also this beautiful artist. So I just really want to honor her and acknowledge her for coming onto this webinar with me today so that we can share a little bit about her wisdom. She has so much to share, and I'm just really excited for you guys to get to know her. So, Chrissy, would you like to say anything about yourself or add on to that?
Yeah, hi Jess. Hi everyone. Thank you, Jess, for having me here. I love that story. Every time you say it, I'm like, aw. It's just amazing how, I think that speaks to the whole idea that energy matters, right? And divine timing, and people that we're meant to meet are already within our vibrational field, and we can feel that essence, even if it's like years before, right? But I love that. So I'm the founder of iloveintuition.com. I am, as Jess said, an intuitive coach, a spiritual teacher, a professional psychic, and I mainly work with purpose-driven, soulful women and men. I got a handful of men that like to come to me who want to tap into their intuition. They really want to trust in their inner guidance, stop dismissing themselves, stop second-guessing themselves, and to really follow those inner urgings, those callings, those insights that come from within so that they can make choices that are really about their self-expression and create that path of freedom for themselves in whatever way that looks like. So yeah, and I've been painting and use art as a way to express and tap into the intuition too. So I combine a lot of my background from the creative arts and spirituality, to kind of to play really, to tap in.
Awesome. Yay.
Wow.
Well, let's take a moment to connect with our guests on this webinar. For those of you listening, we have some amazing people. I was just taking a look at the attendee list. I'd love to just hear from you guys if you see the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. Maybe just let us know, why you showed up on this webinar today. What brings you here? We would love to hear from you. And as you're typing that, I'll just give a little bit of background as to why Chrissy's work is so important to me. My story pretty much is that I never listened to my intuition. First of all, I didn't know what intuition was, and I know we're going to get a little bit into that because Christina really helps break it down in a very simple, practical, usable way that all of us can implement to help our self-care. But for me, I literally ignored every ounce of my purpose, every ounce of what I wanted to do my entire life, and because of that, it not only impacted me emotionally, but it impacted me physically. And so mine showed up as extreme stomach pains that I had for nearly 15 years. Horrible, right? And it's amazing because I've talked to so many different women, and Chrissy, I'm sure you've experienced this too with some of your clients, that when we don't follow what we know is right for us, it can lead us to being sick. It can lead us to massive headaches, migraines, stomach pain, shoulder aches, everything from like even worse chronic diseases. And so it's very important for me that I continuously fine-tune my intuition and continuously am stepping up for myself no matter how scary it is, and that I'm helping other women empower themselves to do the same. And so that's really why I'm excited to chat with Christina today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you go against your intuition nowadays that you do get stomach pains? Or no, is it one of those things that shows up in a different way now?
You know what's weird? So I never get them like I used to. They used to be
Right.
like an entire 24 hours so bad that I would throw up.
Oh,
However,
wow.
yeah, really bad. Like I couldn't get rid of them. I would pop ibuprofen, and then eventually, like my body would want to like try to heal itself, and the only way it knew how to do that was to throw up. So I'd be in the
Mhm.
bathroom throwing up in the middle of the night. Now, what's interesting, and I don't know why this is, well, I kind of do. I got my first kind of like not so great stomach pain on my birthday weekend, actually, when I was with
Mhm.
my new boyfriend, who's amazing. And like granted, we hadn't had like a great eating schedule, and we were up until like 3 a.m. and like, just enjoying each other's company by the time we drove to Zion. But I had a really bad tummy pain, and I was telling him, and he's like, because he's pretty intuitive, he's like, is there something that I said that maybe upset you? And I said, no. But what I think my body was doing is it was like reacting to past trauma
Mhm.
from my past relationship and saying
Right.
like, holy fuck, like this relationship is so amazing already, and I've only known this guy, 30 days, and wait a minute, like what's going on?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
So, um, all right, we got some great comments. Latasha, hello. Hi, my angel Christina.
Hi,
I came to support
Latasha.
I came to support my intuitive leader and learn more about showing up and being comfortable with showing up and creating my self-expression. Thank you, ladies. Awesome. Tiana, I love the strength and synergy of women supporting women. Yes. And as a caregiver and personal trainer, would like to support caregivers in caring for ourselves.
Mm.
Awesome. Total self-care. Jennifer, hi. Jacqueline and Sharon. Oh, good. We got some interaction going on. Sharon, good morning, ladies. Interested in others' experiences and to learn. Jacqueline, Jackie, I'm here. Jacqueline Jensen here from my vacation in Barcelona. Wow.
Wow.
I'm here because I always get something from you two, and I don't know what intuition really is and want to know. Weird. How come I'm not able to scroll down more? Want to know. Well, for some reason, I'm not able to see Jackie's full comment. So, awesome. Well, welcome, ladies. We're really excited to have you guys here.
Yay. I love
Um,
it.
Great. Well, do you mind if I call you Chrissy on this call?
Oh yeah,
It's weird to call you
totally.
Christina. Okay.
Yeah. FYI, anyone, you guys can call me Christina, Chrissy. I answer to both. So, what?
I
No,
love
no.
it because I think on my first webinar with Christina Dunbar, she's all about like self-expression. So we talked about that, and we were talking about like how we don't really care about titles, and like in fact we really hate titles. And so I was actually sharing with somebody at work the other day. I was like, I don't really care what you call me. I'm not attached to my name, but just don't call me ugly or stupid. Like,
Exactly.
right?
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, Chrissy, why don't we start with you maybe just sharing a little bit about your story? Like, why is
Hmm.
intuition and I love intuition important to you? And, maybe a little bit of your background. Did you always use I know your story, but did you always use your intuition or did you kind of find it in a roundabout way? I think the ladies would like to know about that.
Yeah, it's mm, gosh, it's like, do you start from here? Or do you start from way back? I'm gonna start from way back because I think that that's really the key, the importance to really look back at when we're building and developing our intuition and strengthening it. It's like looking back to like how have we have followed it throughout our own entire lives, right? So how has it really been with us in our whole life? So I'm gonna go way back to being a kid. As a child, I was definitely aware of energy. I felt things, I saw things, I heard things. But I think the big turning point for me was when I was 8 and my grandmother passed away, and we were like BFFs, super close. This is my paternal grandmother, and when she passed away, that same evening I had a dream, and she came to my dream and she visited me, and she was just completely happy and glowing and saying, okay, tell everyone I'm fine. And I remember waking up, and I'm 8 years old at this time, and remember waking up and being like, oh, nobody really leaves. Like, nobody ever goes away. And I just felt like it wasn't a dream. It was something real. There was a connection to soul, to spirit there. And in the Filipino background, like when people pass away and somebody visits you, it's kind of like one of those things when people do pass away, everyone sort of waits to see who gets visited that night, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, when I told everyone, everyone's like, oh my gosh, and that was definitely one of those things that was like, okay, there's something else out here, right? There's something more in my little 8-year-old brain that can comprehend from a conscious standpoint, but from an internal knowing, it was like, oh, it felt so good to know that, like, oh my God, she's still around. And even through grade school, I would, be at school and I would smell her, or I would just feel her energy around the home. And I just knew because she would just come into and I'd kind of freak out a little bit, and I'd be like, oh my God, is she here? Because how do you comprehend that? Like, like if there's a comfort and it's freaky at the same time. So from there, and then the other big sort of awakening for me was when I was 11 and I had spinal surgery. So I had scoliosis of the spine, which is a curvature of the spine, and it was so drastic that I had to have spinal surgery. So my whole entire spine is completely fused from basically the neck all the way down to my waist, and I have a big long metal rod that runs the entire spine. And so I was bedridden for a month. I had to relearn how to walk and like all of those things. And my father, who meditates, he's a total yogi, healer, he gave me a healing, and I didn't really know what he was doing at the time. I remember I was in bed. I was in so much pain. They were giving me like tons of codeine and whatever kind of painkillers, and it didn't work. And my dad sat with me and he meditated. He held his hands and he had his eyes closed. And I remember laying in bed. He was sitting at the edge of the bed. And then I'm 11, right? And I'm kind of like, what the hell is Dad doing? Right? Like, I don't know what's going on. But whatever, I'm going to roll with it. And then my pain went away. And I remember it was gone for a couple days. And again, that was something that was like, there's something else out here. So fast forward, I think that really sort of ignited that inner knowing of there's a connection that happens with everything, and we can tap into that connection. And there's a healing power that also that we can tap into as well, and transfer sort of that healing power to serve and support others. So I think it was through that really like sort of jutted me into my whole spiritual path through high school, into college. But same with you, Jess. It was one of those things where I ended up going into, after graduating college, I ended up going to clairvoyant, psychic training school for a whole entire year. I loved it. It was fantastic. I went in because it was just something that was fun. But at the same time, fast forward was like 2007, I was working as an art director for after-school program, and I was getting sick for a whole entire year, over and over and over again. And it was all like fifth chakra. I would always have this harsh cough and cold, and I really thought it was just like being with a bunch of kids, like kids, and they're sick all the time, and but if that reoccurring for a whole entire year, I knew that it was something else, that there was something that was being called forth from me. And I was really, really exhausted and just at a place where I wasn't happy, and I was 28 years old at the time, I think. And it was just kind of like, like this dissatisfaction internally. And it was one of those things where it's like I ended up losing my voice, and in that like week of major silence was when I really honed in, was like, okay, what's going on here? And that's when the voice was like, do your readings, do your healing work, do your art, do your creativity. And I knew that I was at a significant point where it was like, all right, either I say yes to the part of me that's just like wanting to be revealed, or I say no and continue to get sick and continue to wear myself down and be exhausted and be unhappy. So for me, I think that was sort of one of those pieces where it was just like, okay, like I have to really heed to this part of me that was always that always developed my intuition, did psychic readings, did all these things, but at the same time, it wasn't quite listening. I was sort of good at giving advice to others and sort of reading everyone's energy and all that. But when it came to my own, it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I can listen, but I really, really wasn't listening. So I think that was sort of the place where I truly, truly surrendered. And then from there, it was like, I love intuition. And then everything else that happened from that point.
Wow. Yeah. And I know you shared with me, like your parents wanted you to kind of be like a traditional nurse, right? Like,
Oh,
so,
for sure.
yeah. So
Yep.
that probably took a lot, right?
Yeah, so my parents, being first generation Filipino here in America, my dad always, 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 for as long as I can remember, even when I was young, people would ask me, like, it'd be 5 years old, and people would be like, oh, what do you want to be? And I'd be like, I want to be an artist. And then it was just kind of like, you crazy child, like, you're going to be a nurse. I don't care what you say. But it's funny because even after I graduated college and I ended up going to art school, my dad and my mom were just kind of, so are you going to, this radiology program looks really good. And I'm just like, I just grabbed my degree. Like, you want me to go back and be a nurse? And so it was definitely one of those things that even though I was constantly told to be this, do this, da da da, like there was always something in me, like, and that's probably the rebel internal, the soul rebel in me, that was just kind of like, no, 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 no. There's something that I must express within myself, and I cannot not do that because I'll die. You know what I mean? I'll die, like I'll die inside, right? So yeah, and that's hard. And I think that's one of those things that's with intuition. It's like you have so many people telling you so many things that we get bombarded, right? And it's really, really hard to listen to ourselves. And really hard to, like, especially if we're not being supported in that way, too. Supported to listen to ourselves and to go against what other people want for you and from you.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, my typical client is kind of like me, like how I used to be, where big giver, like I will do anything to meet your expectations because I was afraid if I didn't do that I wouldn't be loved. And so I still have that tendency to like want to please and people pleaser, and I have to consistently, it takes a lot of work and support, like you said, from my coach, and you have coached me before. Your retreat was amazing and really set me on the path that I'm on today, and through my sister circle, it's like we need that support. And so many of the women that I've been talking to, I'm doing, some of you may know, I'm doing this retreat to Bali at the end of April. And it's just like phenomenal. I get off the phone after these calls and I just bawl my head off because they are me where I was like 5 years ago. And like you said, many of them had said, like, if I don't change something, I'm going to get sick. My back's going to go out, or literally a couple of them have said, like, I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it's just so amazing. So I'm wondering if you have any insight on, like, why does our physical body do that when we don't tap into our intuition and follow our dreams? Like, what is that all about? What do you think?
Yeah. And I'm gonna talk about this from an energetic standpoint, just through personal experience and what I've seen with clients, with the full disclosure that I don't have a medical background. I don't, you know, I don't have a big frame of reference when it comes to sort of anatomy and health and all that. But we can look at it from the chakra standpoint in our auric field and all those pieces. So
and maybe, Chrissy, because I know a lot of the people that follow me, I don't talk a lot about chakras. Do you just want to briefly explain what those are as well?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so basically, we are, as humans, we have our physical body, we also have our energetic body too. So not only do we encompass this, you know, our skin, but the energetic side of us, or our soul side of us, doesn't only reside within our physical confines of our skin, but it actually expands about 3 feet around us, which includes our aura. And we also have our chakra system, which is 7 major energy centers that run along our spine. And chakra is a Sanskrit, an ancient Indian philosophy on physical, emotional, and mental well-being on an energetic level. So we have these 7 major energy centers that run along our spine, and each energy center has a specific quality to it. And it's also the way that we interact with the world from a physical, mental, emotional, and energy standpoint as well. So the what I found is how do I best explain this so it's practical? I want to illustrate it. So it's like, if you think of a pool of water that's stagnant, right? And what happens in a pool of water that's stagnant, that's out in nature, it breeds bacteria, right? It's not moving, so it's like, it's just a pool that is ripe for bacteria and all kinds of parasites and all these things to happen because the energy is not flowing. But when you've got like this stream that's running, you know, and you hear about all these natural springs and all those people can really drink out of because it's so clean, because it's constantly moving. That's the same with our energetic field. So when we are constantly dismissing ourselves, so if there's a part of us, our intuition, that's like, you're being called to do this, you're being called to express this, or to stand up for yourself even more, and you're constantly like, no, not listening, I don't want to hear it, that can't happen to me, I don't do that. You know, we're stuffing it. We're stuffing that. We're stuffing our voice down, and we like literally like impact it on an energetic level that it becomes this stagnant energy, a pool for breeding, sickness, parasites, all kinds of stuff. So that's the best way that I can explain why I think that when we don't listen to ourselves, we create a block within us from the energy to flow, keep from flowing through, and then it'll manifest anywhere within our system. So each of our chakras are also related to a specific part of our body too. So depending on where you're not letting it flow in your life, it's also going to affect that particular part of your body too. So for you, Jess, it was your stomach. So stomach is related to third chakra. That's your personal power. It's your willpower. It's also second chakra too. So that place of sensitivity, you know, if you're always like over giving and giving and giving, you know, that power gets depleted, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like constantly giving out, but you're not letting yourself receive. So then you give out so much power that you deplete your energy reserves. So, yeah, so that's what happens on a physical level. It's really, it's amazing, it's scary, you know, at the same time, because it's kind of like, oh, you know, here's a symptom, an ailment that may be happening on a physical level, but it's also a gift, right? It's also a wisdom we can tap into and be like, okay, I'm having an issue here. Is there an area in my life that I'm not in alignment? Am I holding myself back somewhere? Am I not being aware, not being honest with something that I do want in my life? So it's good to always sort of check in on that. So that's sort of the energetics, but nutrition and all those things come into play too. So we want to look at sort of the overall well-being of our bodies. But from an energy standpoint, it's that energy that's not flowing that causes those physical symptoms to arise in our body.
Yeah. This is why I fucking love you, Chrissy. It's like this pool of water, and if it's not moving, like you're so practical. And I think, I'll even go as far as to say, like, Sonia Choquette is like one of the most famous professional intuitives, and I was just reading her book, and for me, like, she's not as practical as you are. Like, you're so good at just really, like, giving people these practical, like, ways of understanding this complicated, thing when we think of intuition. And I love that Jennifer said, yes, we need to flow.
Nice.
We do, right? As women, like, that's one of our gifts is being able to be in this state of, like, flow and give and receive and not just stay stagnant. Like, in ancient times, we were the ones dancing around and, like, just expressing and being fully in our bodies, and we're the healers, right? So it's like, I love that. So thank you. And I also want to point out that Tiana said, this is my first webinar with both of you, and this is awesome. Thank you, Christina and Jess.
Thanks, Tiana.
Thanks, Tiana. Cool. Okay, so getting a little bit more into the practical, I'm just kind of, like, tuning into some of the questions that some people on the call might have. First, I think maybe, what is your definition of intuition, right? Like, there's such a buzzword, kind of like, tap into your intuition, and what does your intuition say? And I think maybe, like, you giving a little bit of more of an explanation as to really, like, what is intuition will kind of help register in people's minds what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So, and yes. So my very simplistic definition of intuition is your innate sense. It's really your sixth sense. And it is your sixth sense that always continuously guides you and connects you to your highest path and purpose. Meaning that, and I don't want to inflate it, meaning, oh, highest path and purpose, I meant to be Oprah, like, all these things. No, no, like, because I think that can taint a lot of that too, because people go like, oh my God, now I have a purpose, and it, like, overwhelms them, right? So really, it's about making choices that are authentic and true for oneself. So if the choice is to not go to the birthday party that you were invited to last week, that's happening tonight because you're just feeling crappy, that's listening to your intuition, right? It's what is going to serve and support you in this present moment to be in your full expression of you. Mm-hmm. So that's really the definition. And where does it come from? I guess there's two parts. There's parts where it comes from your higher self. So again, we are energy, and we're beyond just our brain thinking. But there's another part of us that has wisdom, which is our higher self, and intuition also comes from a frame of reference, meaning that it comes from our past experience as well, too. So we can also evoke intuitive guidance by understanding, okay, so when I made those decisions, those didn't really work, right? Mm-hmm. Or I can tweak things in my life that were, okay, I did this, I did that, all right, now I know better. So it's part conscious awareness, too, but it's through those past experiences that serve our intuitive guidance for what it is that we want in our future, because we also have to know what doesn't work, what does work, in order for us to really tap in on, okay, where am I free, right? where am I being authentic? And that is how we tune in to our intuition. That's what intuition is.
That's great.
For my definition.
Yeah, it's so interesting because hearing you talk about that, it's like, gosh, yeah, that's what I tell my clients too. It's like, it's just a different way of really saying it. This whole idea of radiant self-care, one of the things that I say is giving yourself permission to change your mind at any time and for any reason. And like, how do you make that decision? Well, you make that decision by going within and saying like, okay, like, I like to say, like, what is my head telling me? What is my gut telling me? Okay, but now what's my heart telling me?
Right.
Because for me, and I don't know, like, I've heard a couple of different intuitives explain, like, where they think intuition comes from. Do you have anything that you teach about that, like a part on the body that it's kind of like stored or?
I think there's two pieces. So our intuition is sort of our guidance system, and then our psychic awareness is where we're tuning in and feeling that information, right? Mm-hmm. So our psychic awareness can come in from different parts of our body. So my heart chakra is a psychic ability that has an ability to be aware. Our second chakra, which is at the base of, or underneath our navel, so that's our gut feeling, right? Oh, I feel it in my stomach. I feel in the pit of my stomach. Or I walk into a room and it feels good. I walk into a room and it feels crappy, right? Or I go into this party and it's kind of lame, right? Yeah. It's like you feel an energy. So that's like your second chakra awareness. Then we have our fifth chakra awareness, which is our throat, and that's our clairaudience, or it's our clear hearing. So people who like hear messages or say, I keep hearing this voice keep telling me to drink more water. You know, and you can hear it as sort of an auditory. It almost sounds like you're talking to yourself. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it's also this guidance too. And then we can also just kind of have these seven chakra like insights, like it's like a bright idea. Oh wow, yeah, that I know that. Like I know I need to do that. That's that seven chakra awareness. So to me, there's a difference between like, okay, here's the intuition, that's sort of the higher level guidance. And then our psychic abilities is where we're actually tuning in on that information and where it's coming from, too.
Yeah, that's great. And some of you guys might be like, I am not psychic. But the truth is that we all have psychic abilities. And I know Chrissy believes this as well. She just happens to be a very highly in tune professional psychic. So, you know, this is what she dedicates herself to. But you know, if you're thinking, there's no way that I'm a psychic, we all have that inside of us in order to guide us into making those right decisions that will propel us forward on the right path in our lives, ultimately to happiness and love. I mean, that's really what we all want out of life. And it's funny because what's coming up for me is, you know, this Bali retreat that I'm doing. I just had in-person intensive with my coach in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and it's funny because we were on a call a few months ago. I just completed a program of hers, and we were kind of discussing, you know, okay, do you want to continue with my support? And I was like, yeah, I do. This is part of my self-care in order to support these women on this beautiful retreat, or yeah, I had already created the retreat at that point, on this beautiful retreat that I'm creating. Like, I really need the support from you. And it's funny, some of you might have seen this story that I shared on Facebook, but like before we got off the call, she was like, well, wait a minute. I'm just feeling like for some reason we're supposed to do this in person additional day together. Would you be interested in maybe coming to San Francisco and doing some work with me? And I was like, I just had this inner knowing of like, yep, I'm supposed to do that. I don't know why. And so many times, I think this is really key, you guys, so many times, I'm going to say it as women, like we feel in our body that we're supposed to do something, or we have that like knowing, and we go here. We go to our mind. We go to, la, 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 oh, logistics, you know, like we go to try to figure it out. And I would say one of the reasons why I'm living the life that I'm living now, and like I feel so tapped into like my inner truth, is because I've learned how to kind of decipher from okay, here's my mind and here's all the fear and here's me trying to figure it out, and like recenter and like, no, like I know this is what I'm supposed to do. And that can be really tough. And so the short story is, what ended up happening is when we made that decision for me to come to San Francisco, I'd booked my trip and everything. A month later after that, I met a guy who I am now like just have this amazing love with. On New Year's Eve we met, and just so happens he lives in San Francisco.
Perfect.
Yes, so it's just so funny. Me and my coach, when we got together, were like giggling about this. We're like, well, thanks to our intuition, you know, you also got to not only make this a beautiful business trip where, you know, I'm feeling supported, but I got to be with my sweet man as well and see him. So it's such a powerful story and reminder of like what happens when we really listen, you know, to our intuition.
Yeah, I love that. I love how paths cross, you know, when we really just allow ourselves to surrender and go with that inner knowing, you know, and not try to, like you said, analyze it and figure it all out. And it's like sort of a tough process, but I think that the more that you give yourself that permission and acknowledge that there is a part of you that constantly knows all the damn time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you always know. Even when you think you don't know, you always know.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, okay, good. All right. Then, you know, it becomes easier to give that part of ourselves that voice and to really give ourselves permission to listen to ourselves. So I love that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, you know, do you have any like beginner suggestions on like first steps to how you would suggest that people can start to tune into their intuition?
Yes. So, I think the pre step really is just to, and I said this before, it's like just to acknowledge that you are intuitive, acknowledge you do have psychic senses, right? Now, it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm psychic, so I'm not going to give readings, right? It doesn't mean that. It means to tune in. Like, I can feel energy, I can hear energy, I can, I get these brilliant insights that come in that just feel fun and good. And that can be, it doesn't have to, and again, I want to bring it to this practical space where it doesn't have to be this profound, like, oh my God, I'm going to solve world hunger insights, right? Like, it can be like, oh my God, today, it's like, you might get this like total insight to go, I don't know, go on a hot air balloon trip or something. And it's just like, oh, your soul just like lights up with that insight. You're just like, I am going. Like, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to like go with that insight, right? So it's that sort of that pre step. And then one thing I want to say about the psychic ability aspect is psychic. The word psychic actually comes from the Greek word psychikos, which means of the soul. And it's that acknowledgement of our soul and that we have that knowing within us. So the biggest thing for me, I believe, is meditation. I'm a huge advocate for meditation. I know people will be like, I don't like to meditate, I don't got time, but you know what? We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded by information coming at us in so many ways, even more so than ever. Now that we have the internet and we have cell phones and social media, I mean, like, the information age is like out of control. And if we are not giving ourselves that space to just be quiet, you know, and then just to be with our own selves, we cannot cultivate. It's hard to cultivate that sense of what is my voice versus everything, all of that energy that I'm constantly taking in all the time. So meditation is just a huge, huge, huge thing for me. And for those who have a really hard time meditating, I always say start with 5 minutes. That is all you need. So start with 5 minutes of just closing your eyes, breathing in, connecting in with your body, and that's it. Set a timer, do it for 5 minutes, and then do that for a week or two, and then just notice how you feel, and then start to sort of, let yourself stay in for a little bit longer until you feel, okay, here, I've reached a point where it's like, okay, I found my rhythm with that too. And there's so many different kinds of meditations and ways of learning and all that. So I always say to just expand your experience with it and really tap into what feels good for you. And another thing too is to track your guidance, right? So tracking meaning write down things that you get, things that you hear, things that have happened that you're like, oh, I listened to myself today. And that, okay, I'm tracking that. Because, again, what you're doing is you're making intuition real, and you're making it three-dimensional, and you're making it really practical. So it doesn't feel like this, oh, I'm being weird, or, I'm being like this woo person because I'm listening to myself, no, it's like real shit comes true when you listen to yourself, you know what I mean? So it's like letting yourself track those experiences like that. Perfect. Like a perfect example what you gave, Jess. Having conversation with my coach, she suggests this, I say yes, oh my gosh, I meet someone, great, he lives in San Francisco. That is like a perfect example of a very practical situation that manifested out of listening to yourself, right? But also I want you to be aware that happened over a span of time, right? Good. So it's not like your intuitive guidance is like, oh my God, I'm going to get information like in 5 minutes. Your path may unfold over a period of time, and then in the hindsight, you're like, oh, I know why I made that decision like a month ago. And then you can like go back and track and be like, oh, that's so cool to see how our intuition guides us in these very organic, fun ways too.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that it's almost like a reward for yourself, right? Like really noticing, like if we go back to like basic childhood, like you do something good, you get a good gold star. It's like it's just creating that awareness and that appreciation for the powers that you do have within your own soul to like just know. And I also love that you bring up meditation, because for me, not only meditation, I definitely credit meditation, but spending time by myself, like really just be alone. And it's amazing because a lot of my clients have a problem with being alone. They're big givers. They want to be out there. What I feel is it's almost this like, well, if I'm alone, it's like this loneliness, and all of these things are going to start like coming up, and all these fears, and so just like dedicating time to yourself. Like for me, I go to the spa and I'll spend 4 hours there, and I've gotten some of my most brilliant, amazing ideas at the spa, like, and they just boom, they just come, and it's like, wow, that was so easy, like effortless.
Yeah.
So
that having that space to yourself is so important. I mean, in the aspect of self-care, right? Because it's you're giving to you. And you are your most important asset, really, because it's like without your body, and this is the body that you're creating through, and without the body, it's like, well, where are you going to create? Nowhere. You know what I mean? So it's like we really have to honor the body temple in that way of self-care, putting ourselves first.
Yeah.
And it's not in a selfish way. It's really like if you are in service and you want to be of service, and not even just in your career in general, but just in general, you want to just be somebody who wants to help people. You want to change lives. You want to, whether you're volunteering for something or you're doing this as your business, like, you are your number one asset. And it comes down to remembering to take care of what's most important, this body, this life that you chose, this body that you chose.
Yeah.
To help support you in your expression in this life too.
Yes, I love that you say that, Chrissy. I mean, we're so on the same page with so many things, and that's really why I created this Bali retreat. It was like, and what I'm noticing with like every single woman who signed up, like I cry a lot, after I talk to these women, just because they have these big dreams. I was noticing every single one of them has these big dreams to just give. They want to give. They want to make a difference. And it's so true. Like taking care of yourself, doing something just for you, whether that's taking a trip for you or whether that's just dedicating 10 minutes of meditation to yourself. Like each of those steps is like you acknowledging the special person that you are, giving yourself that fuel to recharge so that you can go out into the world and do these big things that you know that you're meant to do, because otherwise we're useless and it doesn't feel good. Like, right. And unfortunately, like me, it was like I just finally one day like hit a wall. So what I want to do is help women like know that they can change something now versus like having to like hit this wall of like sickness or be in the hospital or their back goes out or they have this huge like blow up in their life of something traumatic. It's like we are in control. We can guide our own lives in the way that we're supposed to in order to feel really good about it.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because it's one of those things that I think as humans, because we're such we like the way that things are, right? Our ego likes to have things the way that they are, even though it's not that great. Yeah. But we're just kind of like, all right, things are cool. I'm alive. So it tends to take something jarring in order to create a significant change.
Yeah.
But if you listen in and you're constantly aware of subtleties in your energy and giving to yourself regularly too, giving yourself that space to recharge, giving yourself that space to come back to self. You don't have to go through these really dramatic, traumatic experiences to wake up. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't. But it's one of those things that it's like to sort of bop us out of this days that we tend to be in because the ego wants to keep things the way that they are, then we'll put ourselves in those situations too. So, I love what you're doing, Jess, as in helping women take care of themselves because women are natural caregivers. We have the ability to create life, through birth. So we're naturally coded to give and to take care. But we are not supported from a cultural standpoint to take care of ourselves, right? It's always like, take care of everyone, take care of the family, take care of da-da-da-da, and then be superwoman and work your career and do all this other stuff, right?
So true. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I always talk about this, like me leading these women's groups and then, even doing this retreat. Like one of the biggest benefits for these women coming with me is going to be receiving the support of the other women. Like there is nothing like having women that you can count on, that like I've told this story before. My previous relationship, after 5 years went up in flames one night, and I remember being on the toilet. I don't know what I was doing on the toilet, if I was even peeing. I don't know. I was like delirious. And I posted to the private Facebook group of the women's group that I lead here in Las Vegas, and I said, I am not okay. That was it. And I cannot tell you, there were tears streaming down my face with the number of women that called me, that messaged back, that said, what do you need? I'm going to be there, you know, like, want to come over tomorrow night and have a glass of wine? And, like, just so many women I'm hearing, you know, whether it's at my events or these clients that I'm working with, do not have that support. And we need it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. They definitely need it. Yeah, they need it, and they need to acknowledge that they need it too. I think that's one thing, is that women don't necessarily acknowledge that they need support because we're too trained to give.
Yeah, I'm Superwoman. Oh God, I still kind of have a complex of like, I can do anything by myself. You know, I don't need people, and like, well, that's all great and dandy to be an independent woman, you know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we are not put on this planet to live alone. We are put on this planet to do life with other people, and that is what is fulfilling, and that is how we're going to get our needs met. Yeah. So I just want to acknowledge that we have only 4 more minutes. So if you guys can hang with us, we're going to go a little bit over because this has just been such a juicy webinar. And Chrissy, I just want to get to, Jackie asked a really good question, and I'm hoping that you can kind of give us a very practical answer. She said, what's the difference between intuition and fear? How do I know if I'm not, if I'm not doing things from fear or gut feeling intuition?
I love that. Okay. So your intuition and your soul is always about expansion. Your soul doesn't even know the concept of fear, actually, right? It does in the soul sense, it doesn't know what it means to not want something, if that makes sense. Like it just wants to grow, it wants to expand, it wants to learn, it wants to have fun. And so your intuition, which is the voice of the soul, wants to guide you towards that expansion. Now the expansion can feel scary, right? So there's a difference between my intuitive guidance and I'm guided to do something new, and it's like butterflies scary, right? Because it's new and I haven't done it before, but it feels like there's a part of me that wants to have that experience, right? So that would be more of that intuitive guidance. The fear, on the other hand, will come from a place that is giving you reasons as to why you shouldn't do that. So the fear would be, no, Jackie, that wouldn't be the right way because you don't have X, Y, and Z to make that happen, right? Or, no, Jackie, that's not good because guess what? You've done that before and you always fail. You know, your fear is like fatalistic, you know what I'm saying? Like it's never this like really exciting, motivating factor if it's guidance, right? If it's a fear guidance that's coming up. So your intuition, again, it might be, yeah, Jackie, you've tried that before and it didn't work, but you can try it again. But how about we try it this way, right? So that would be intuitive guidance. It's acknowledging that it didn't work out, but it's also acknowledging, let's open it up to a new way of creating. Let's open up to a new strategy, new support, new level that you can step into. So the fear from a body standpoint too, your intuition is always it's gonna feel expansive, it's gonna feel light, it's gonna feel exciting, but it can feel scary because of the butterflies, right? Nervous, anxiety, fear because you haven't yet done it. The fear would feel constricting, usually heavy, wah wah, like, never mind about that idea. So it's gonna feel like that, like, damn, that was pretty shitty, like I just heard myself say that, and then now I feel pretty friggin' shitty. The fear is talking shit to you, basically, right? Yeah. It's not supportive. So that's how you know the difference for yourself.
Great. Yeah, that's a really good explanation. I love that. All right, so we are coming to an end, but we still have a couple of really great offers to you guys. So why don't you, while we begin to talk about, Chrissy has something really cool coming up for Valentine's Day, why don't you post in the comments just kind of your takeaways, what you're taking away from this call. And yeah, we'd love to hear that, and we hope this was really helpful for you. And while you're doing that, Chrissy, do you just want to talk a little bit about this special offer that you have for in honor of Valentine's Day?
Yeah, so we're in Valentine's month, and I love Valentine's Day, and I love love, and I love loving the self. So I have an offer for relationship readings. So intuitive love readings and energy healings that are, it's really focused on your relationship space. So whether you are in a current relationship that you either want to deepen or strengthen, or you're having issues with it, or maybe you're not in a relationship space and maybe you're sort of struggling to find that relationship but don't really know how, or you've just had like a string of really crappy ones, you're kind of like, I don't want to date anyone because what if it's crappy again? You know, like all of those crazy patterns that I'm sure we've all experienced. Raising my hand. So the reading is really about looking at the energy of your relationships, doing healing work that may come up. So any blocks that you're experiencing in that space. So we can do healing work on your heart, on your chakras, and if stuff is happening from past lives too, that may show up in your relationship space as well. We'll look at that and we'll do healing work and all that. So I do have that. So it's an hour long. It's for a special of $97. My readings are usually $200 for an hour, and that's just going on all month for our February love special.
And so make sure you guys, you should see the offer. There's a link, a button on the right side of your screen. I can't really see how it shows up on your screen, but hopefully you see that. I don't think the image worked, Chrissy. Bummer. Oh, well.
That's okay.
I put a pretty image up there that Chrissy had on her website. But anyways, the link should still be there. You guys can click on that and take advantage. If you have never worked with Chrissy, she's freaking awesome. And I know for me, she's really helped empower me to tune into my own intuition, to actually be a coach. Like, really, you're the reason that I am a coach. Because remember when we were in Tahoe and I was like, I'm not a coach, on Christina's Art of Trust retreat a few years ago. She totally broke me down in a very sweet, gentle, amazing way. And I'm like, I'm not a coach. Nobody's going to love me. They're going to think I'm
love on Jeff last time.
What?
We got some tough love on you.
Oh my God, totally. I know I say gentle because you were the gentle one, but Kirsten, wait, how do you pronounce her name? Kirsten,
yeah.
Yeah, Kirsten, was like, no. Like, it was so funny because you guys were like dichotomies of each other, and I'm like, ah! Like looking at you like, help me. But I'm so grateful to you because I wouldn't be doing this work if it wasn't because of you and furthering, you know, following my intuition of like, no, damn it. I'm meant to help women. I'm meant to teach them, you know, everything that I've learned so they don't have to go through all this shit of like physical body pains and wanting to please everyone and, you know, holding back from my own dreams. Like, we can change that now with some support. And
yes.
So, yay. So click on Chrissy's offer. While you do that, I'm going to start talking, and then I'll put up a different offer, just to give you guys a little bit more insight on this retreat that I'm doing. I know that I've been mentioning it throughout the call, and it's like every time I talk about it, I'm like, pinch, am I really going to Bali? And it's a perfect intuition story because I signed up with my coach, Christina Ambubuyog, who's this very high-end coach in San Francisco, as you heard, and on my very first like intensive with her, this was several months ago, she's like, okay, what do you want to do? because she's known for helping women create their coaching programs. And so I went in like, okay, I'm going to create this awesome coaching program to support women in their self-care. And she asked me that question, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, that's interesting, because I would ask my coaching clients the exact same thing. And my intuition just like, boom, like locked in, and like everything in me, it was like this moment where I didn't even know what was happening, was like, I want to go to Bali. And so selfishly, right, like I want to go to Bali. I'm following my intuition, but it's become this beautiful retreat called the Radiance Recharge that I've created to support 8 other women. 4 spots are already taken, and actually 1 more is spoken for as of a conversation with a woman last night. And these conversations are just so powerful, you guys. So I'm going to put in the pop-in and then just tell you a little bit more about the Radiance Recharge and who it's for. Okay, so you should see the link to my website for the retreat now. I really just created this retreat as something unlike any other thing that I've seen, based upon what I know I would want and what I believe other women need, because of what I experienced on a retreat a year ago. So I followed my intuition a year ago. It was like a month until this retreat in Peru was happening, and I just like kept getting these signs of like, okay, I'd have to leave on my 30th birthday and be on the plane to this retreat in Peru. Okay, like there's this group of women that are going, like I really desire, you know, connection with women. Oh my gosh, the land of Peru is so gorgeous, and then Machu Picchu. It was just like all these different things kept coming together. But what I really found out of that retreat that I didn't expect was the opportunity to just completely unplug. So I didn't turn on my cell phone once. I was completely like disconnected from everything. I meditated. I sat out in nature. I slept on the grass. I watched the beautiful hummingbirds. I connected with these women. I cried. I felt supported. I danced. Like, it was just this amazing sense of peace. Like, I felt no physical pain in my body. You know what I mean? You still feel like a little tension. Like, you might be like relaxed, but you still got a little tension. Like, this retreat allowed me to just completely let go. So what the retreat did not provide me was kind of a little bit more of like a luxurious experience, right? Like an opportunity to indulge in myself, which is why I decided on Bali, because it's this land of like beauty and like femininity and indulgence. And so I have this beautiful villa. You can see the picture on the side of your screen. It's like 3 different villas that the women who are coming with me will be able to stay at on one property. Beautiful room, all to yourself, bathroom, private bathroom, pools. Like, we're literally in walking distance of the beach. And like, it's just going to be this amazing experience to really like get away from the hamster wheel of life and do something just for you. Like, these calls that I'm having, it's like, that's what women want. We have not given enough to ourselves. So I invite you guys, if any of that resonates with you, even if there's just a little inkling in your heart, there are still some spots left, not many, and I have 4 calls scheduled with different women. But this retreat isn't for everyone, so there still could be an opportunity for you, and I invite you to just click on that link, go watch the video that I did for this retreat, which I'm still like, holy cow, did I really make that video?
Awesome. I love it.
Like, I don't even think it's me. Like, I literally woke up at 2 in the morning and wrote that script for that video and had a vision, right? Like, I followed my intuition, Chrissy. And yes, so even if you're just wanting some inspiration, click on the link, watch the video, and then you'll see my email that you can email me if you'd like to set up a time to connect, and we'll just explore, if one of these spots that remains is for you. So, yay. Is there any? I'm going to go back to the chat box. Let's see. Jennifer's taking away. Not selfish. It's creating a natural, loving space. Oh, a retreat. Sounds refreshing. Latasha, I share so much of your story with my own. I, too, was forced to follow my intuition as a result of the physical breakdown. give kudos to you ladies for sharing today because I'm taking away more insight on how to write my story. I've been blocked for a while, but I truly have a focus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You angels have no idea how much this has helped me. Natasha, wow, beautiful, beautiful. Awesome. That looks like all the takeaways. Chrissy, is there anything that you want to add just to close us out?
I think the first thing that comes in is just to be true to you. Really, I think that's what intuition is about. It's about being true to you. And sometimes it looks ugly.
Yeah.
in the sense of being true to you one day may feel like you're just bitchy and you're just not in a good mood and you got to be in a crappy mood for that moment to work it out, you know? And that's part of following that guidance, letting yourself be in that self-care. Because self-care isn't always going to look pretty either, right? You know what I mean? Like in the sense of we may have may need self-care because we're down, right? Like it's like I'm giving myself this space because I don't feel good. So maybe coming out of this place of, oh, I have to give to myself because I'm going through this situation, and to call on to your support system as well. Yeah, and to give to yourself. You know, this Bali retreat is just an amazing opportunity to be extremely nurtured. I mean, Jess told me all about it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, yeah. So it really is that place to let go, to unplug, to truly embody what it means to put yourself first, out of service to others. You know, that meaning to serve others, you have to serve self, right? So I just think that Jess is making this amazing, amazing opportunity for that to happen too. So if you're being called, if your inner voice is like, Molly, then make sure you speak to Jess.
Thank you so much, Chrissy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, this was amazing.
I know, we can talk forever.
I know. And like I didn't go over with any of my other guests. But you guys, like Chrissy and I can like sit at coffee shops for like 5 hours. Just talk. It's such an honor to be her friend and have her as one of my spiritual guides for sure. So make sure to go to her website regardless so you can begin following her, iloveintuition.com. She's one of the few newsletters that I actually read, every single one. So that's yes. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for dedicating this time to yourself, for going over with us, for those of you who are still on the call, and just for opening your heart this morning and really putting some self-care time into your Saturday. It's a big deal. So I just want to honor you all for that. And have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Mwah.
Thank you. Bye.